Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a relationship with Justin Waller? You know, the best friend of Andrew Tate. You know, man with multiple women, multiple kids with multiple women. What that's like and how that situation comes about? Well, I'm Kerry Blaser, reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, and I was lucky enough to have a personal relationship with Justin Waller in the summer of 2022. Now, we only DM'd over Instagram, but I still got a flavor for what his insights are, where his strengths are, and where he can improve. And I saw where my strengths are and where I can improve. So let's get into this. So Justin Waller, he owns his own steel construction company, Red Iron Construction, extremely successful, you know, and international businessman. And so now he's extremely successful and, you know, he promotes a lifestyle of one man, multiple women. So, which are one of the challenges I'm, you know, here to confront in society. So how did it happen? How did I end up reaching out to Justin Waller? So let me share my screen for a second and I'll continue. So here is the beginning of our conversation. Okay, so in June of 2022, my first relationship with Tim, who's in my book, My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain, you know, he had a lot of women. And, you know, he seemed to want me to engage in threesomes and accept the fact that he would have multiple women. And I'm like, are these the kind of men, like, I didn't understand what was going on. I'd never kind of knowingly confronted that before. Why am I attracted to men who want multiple women? Like, is something wrong with me? Is something wrong with them? Is this the way it is? Like, these were all the things that I was exploring. And so, you know, I saw Justin on Fresh and Fit. And my intuition's like, reach out to him and ask him your questions. So here it is. It said that I'd like to schedule a session with you to discuss men's need for sexual variety. I really respect how you address this topic as it is challenging, especially in today's environment. I look forward to speaking with you. Okay. Then he within 10, oh yeah, not 10 minutes, but about 45 minutes, sent me back a voicemail. Very kind. Got right back to me.
Hey, I appreciate the message. I'm actually in France right now. I'm assuming you're American, but I can't actually tell. So, what city are you in? And when I get back, we can set up a call. But again, thanks for sending the message. I appreciate it, and I look forward to it. Let me know.
You know, very kind, very kind. Got right back to me, and I really appreciate it. He's a very busy man with a lot on his plate. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay, like maybe, you know, this would work out. Well, then my intuition guided me to ask how much, and I didn't have that much money. I'm like, okay, well, let me, you know, think about it. Then about a month later, I saw him on, it was Fresh and Fit again, and he said something like, oh, um, where is it? I forget exactly. Oh, yeah. And so then in August, I reached out regarding Andrew's situation. And I gave him support that, you know, men need to act like men to have healthy testosterone levels. I gave him a video from, you know, Dr. John Gray, who I really respect, and just really supported that they were having a really hard time. Whether I agreed with Andrew or not, it didn't matter. I cared for Justin. His best friend was having a really hard time, so I showed up with emotional support, the feminine role, okay? So then he got right back to me and said thank you, and I said you're welcome. And then that night I was guided to open up more and share more about myself. Okay, so I kept sharing more and more about myself. And and then that night I could see into his heart because, you know, a woman is the emotional center. So I landed in his heart, which is the right place for a woman. So what does a woman do at home? We clean house. So I could immediately see that he had imbalances. I'm like, oh, maybe I could help him here. Maybe I could help him here. okay, cool, and exactly what I'd done with the first guy, Tim. And so I'm like, oh, is this happening again? Like, is he really my guy? Like, I was just in a conundrum. So then the next morning I woke up and Andrew Tate, his soul was hanging out in my house. Like, I'm in Justin's heart and now I'm interacting with Andrew Tate's soul. Like, I didn't know that was going to happen, but that's what happened. And so, and then Sterling Cooper, their really good friend who Justin was living with in Miami when I was talking to him, his soul was hanging out like a protector. And I didn't really interact with him much, but like, oh, okay, well, that's logical to me. I know we're all souls having a human experience, that we all have energy bodies. And so, okay, this makes sense to me. And so then I started interacting with Andrew's soul to try to help him self-reflect and see into his pain. Like, why did he attract getting canceled on social media and his payment processing center disconnected? Why did he attract that into his life? Why did that happen? Why did his soul plan for him to experience that? Like, what did he need to see about himself that happened in his life? So I started interacting with the soul, and I'm like, they're giving me questions to ask him, which are gnarly, like super confrontational questions. And I'm like, he's gonna be like locked up? Like, you want me to ask Andrew Tate those questions in person? Like, I was scared, but luckily I got through all the questions, and it just happened at a soul level on my couch. Um, so I started, I asked him really direct questions like, why was it necessary for you to stomp around the globe screaming, I'm a man? Why was it, when you're the 4-time UFC world champion? Why did the universe have to turn up the volume on your healing message so loudly that you got kicked off social media and had your payment processing center disconnected? And within about 2 minutes, he just gave up. He's not gave up, he surrendered to his pain. Okay? Like, he's a competitor. So he has good sportsmanship. I had clearly won. My questions were surgical in nature to direct him exactly to his pain point from his childhood, which he can talk about. I'm not here to, talk about what his pain is or isn't, right? I just sharing the questions I asked so he could see inside himself. Then he released an enormous amount of emotional pain from his root chakra that came from me. But at that point, I knew how to transmute that into positive energy and not internalize it and take responsibility for it. So I help people release their pain. I don't internalize their pain and take responsibility for it. No, he's responsible. So that happened, and I told Justin everything, and I was just like DMing like never before. I'm like, oh my God, this has never happened. I'm sending him 9 or 10 DMs in a row because I'm just sharing that this event happened. And then, he didn't say anything. And then the next week, I remember, like, I know that I am here in his life to trigger his emotional pain to the surface. But that's not a relationship he's used to, you know? And I had to accept that. Why wasn't he used to women providing insight and feedback with their intuition? Excellent question, right? His mom has a YouTube channel complaining about him, giving out her phone number so people can call her and complain about him. He's 40 years old. So he has a deep wound. I mean, he openly talks about his traumatic childhood, how he was raised in a Louisiana trailer, like a mobile home park, how he was the only white kid, so he got in fights all the time with the black kids, and how he took 2 women to prom, and how he got a college scholarship and, dated women. And so, and he shares openly that he has multiple women and that is his lifestyle. Okay, so let's talk about the men that I attract in. What kind of men do I attract in? So first guy was Tim. I mean, that's the name I use. Multiple women, multi-millionaire, has a house in Rincon. Okay, Rincon. Look it up. It's like one of the most famous surf spots in the world. And it's a gated community. Then I attracted Justin Waller into my life. Yes, multiple women, multi-millionaire. You know, a lot of challenges in his childhood, both of them, a lot of challenges with their mom in their childhood. So they had kind of deep feminine wounds, and I knew I had deep masculine wounds. You know, the two guys after Justin were both fire academy instructors, decorated, 164, 167. Only with the second one, who is a retired fire captain and oversees the wildland cadet program, did I see that I had a wound that I'm replaceable. So I have a wound that I'm replaceable. So my soul attracts in men who have multiple women, showing me that I have that wound. Okay? Right? And what I came to understand in my relationship with Justin Waller is that we attracted each other into our lives because we both had to learn how to have an argument and come out of it. Like psychologists say now that the healthiest relationships are the ones that can, survive an argument, can like rupture and repair. But what I experienced with Justin when when there was a rupture, I got a soft next. No talking. Just doesn't talk. If I got a problem, that must be me. It can't be him. And then I'll just get replaced. Well, how do we grow in that kind of relationship? It was like, that didn't really work for me. It's like, you're just going to cut me off and not talk to me because you're upset? Well, his mother only ruptured him. There was no repair, and she's still trying to rupture him, and there is no repair. But that's the emotional process, is to dive into our fear, guilt, and shame and come out of it. So let me share a video that I use that really shows this process about how to go through the rupture and repair process together.
Hello, I'm Roshan, and today in Homemade Science, I want to go back and revisit the high road, low road track. Now, I did a previous video on this, and I had so many questions and comments, I thought it would be worthwhile to go back and do a few more demonstrations on it and take a closer look. Now, this is a classic physics problem where we have two tracks that...
See, this one is perfect because one track, you don't dive into your emotional pain. And then one track, you do. Let's see which one creates faster moving energy. And the fastest moving energy is the most powerful, the most transformative. So that's what is healthiest. We want to transform our wounds into wisdom and go on to our next challenge. But if you can't go into the wound, how do you pull out the wisdom? Let's see.
Start at the same position and end at the same position, but their path from one side to the other is completely different. Now, these balls are able to roll down the tracks, so the question is, if I were to release them simultaneously, which track would get the ball to the opposite side the quickest? Well, let's give it a try. So the shortest distance between 2 points is not necessarily the fastest. Now, what's going on here? Well, we're giving both balls potential energy by lifting them up to a certain position. When I release them, only a small amount of its potential energy is changed into kinetic on this track, so its speed across a track isn't very high. However, on the low road track, I started out at that high position. It drops down, changes that potential energy into kinetic, but then it drops an additional distance, so more potential energy is changed to kinetic, so it's going to cover this distance at a higher speed.
So this is what, I've learned from these physics experiments, that the downhill slope, the surrender, the feminine, because the feminine surrenders and then the masculine acts. So they are not capable of the feminine surrender, and neither was I. Like, I was learning how to surrender to my emotions. I was learning how to be the emotional center. That when I continue to surrender to my emotions, the men that are in my life, in my circle, will naturally do that too, because I'm the emotional lead. Men are the physical lead, women are the emotional lead in a healthy relationship. An emotional intimacy is where mental health is created and sustained. So thinking that, Justin Waller's lifestyle, when he hasn't healed from his childhood trauma, is all healthy, I think that would be a mistake. So then I had to ask myself, well, where do these men go for what we call emotional support? And then one time I saw a psychologist say, well, narcissistic men, that's what I attract, highly avoidant men with a sex addiction. That's the kind of man that I attract into my life. I'm just going to be honest. I've been raped. I attract a certain kind of guy. When I put men in a lineup with Andrew Tate, that's a certain kind of guy. And I was a certain kind of girl. Okay? I'm just saying. So in asking myself that, I looked up ChatGPT, and I'll just share my screen so we can look at what I found, and then I'll show you a video of Fresh and Fit on how Fresh and Fit support Justin's lifestyle and why. Okay. Alrighty. So, I asked, why do narcissistic men seek emotional support from each other? So they often do seek emotional support from other men, but the way they do it is usually different from healthy vulnerability or mutual care. It tends to serve psychological needs tied to narcissism rather than true intimacy. Validation without accountability. Oh, you admire each other. Oh, you have multiple women? So do I. Great. The women got to be wrong. We got to be right? Agree with their version of events. Totally. I'm going to show you this video in a second. Reinforce that they are right and superior. Again, you'll see in this clip. Blame other people. Wow. So, let's watch this clip and then we'll talk about it. And I have a lot to share about what happened there, what was going on in my life and it's a clip from the Whatever podcast, which is filmed right out of UCSB, 45 minutes north from me. So I'll share what happened with me and Brian, okay? I didn't go on a date with any of these guys, but I will share what happened. All right, let me share my screen and here we go with Myron.
What's up next? The next one, right? So next, we got a clip here, right? My boy Justin. I think that's the next one, right? Bills?
Justin Waller.
Yeah. This is him, right? And this girl, Lila Rose, presses him. That's another reason why I put her on this thing to come in and debate. And she does exactly what a bunch of girls do on this podcast. Let's roll the clip real quick.
Can I ask you one more question?
Fire away, honey.
Okay. If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself.
You're a man of self-control. You work out, you do business.
Yeah.
You can possess your own power and direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's not how I am.
You think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not. Okay. I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. You're annoying in like this goody two shoes type way, and that's fine. I'm going to live my life on my terms, unapologetically, like truly. So you can ask me this 85 different ways. At the end of the day, I'm going to walk out of here the same man.
Can I ask you one more question?
All right, pause.
Fire away.
See, so here's the thing. For any of you guys that know Justin in real life, he's really like that. He's
100%.
really like that. This guy's man's man, extremely successful, extremely masculine, takes care of his wife. She doesn't got to lift a finger, takes care of his family, takes care of those around him, built up a business, and he's not a fucking
Well, we're going to talk about what takes care of means, right? Takes care of. What does that mean?
influencer. The guy runs a very successful steel company and has made millions upon millions of dollars. He doesn't need social media whatsoever. And I think it's ridiculous that his YouTube channel got taken down when he makes really clean, positive content. Barely even swears, barely
should
says
support him in
talks
these
about
times
women,
because
right?
he is taken down right now.
Hopefully he gets it back.
He gets it back, but you know.
But
we'll
the
see.
guy in good shape, was the Division I athlete. Like, everyone should strive to be like Justin, man.
Everyone should strive to be like Justin. How mathematically is that going to work out? Because we all know that Myron Gaines says men should fuck 50 women and then, how does a man, fuck 50 women and then be ready for a relationship? I'm sorry. How does a man's capacity to fuck a bitch equate with a man's capacity to lead a healthy nuclear family? And what does that mean? I got money for you? Well, who's going to stay around and protect me and be there for me and provide security and safety for my emotions? I mean, if Justin can't listen, can't get in an argument, and can't be wrong, and he's supported by all of his multimillionaire friends, what kind of women is he attracting into his life? Well, I can tell you he attracted me into his life and I was totally fucked up. Here I am, the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene, exploring the possibility that I might need to be in a relationship with these men with multiple women. What the fuck? There's an equal number of men and women. And I sent Myron an email, comments once, and I'm like, you guys are living Einstein's definition of insanity. What happens when there's sexual promiscuity? When the men at the top take all the women and the men at the bottom have nothing? Does that create a healthy society? Because we know historically that it fucking doesn't. We know that the men at the bottom, that's where the revolt comes from. That's where the revolution comes from, because now you've taken their women. Taken their women. So, I am here to hold these men to account, including JC, because he's also in a lineup with Andrew Tate, which speaks volumes. It's like, that says more than I could ever say in one video, right? So, and I have a lot of compassion for Andrew Tate, but let's get into, why casual sex is problematic. And I'm going to quote Andrew here. He says, well, if all men could have sex with multiple women, they would. I'm like, well, let's define could. What does could mean? Because I've already called out the fire department to the Dean of Public Safety, pointing out how fire academy instructors having tons of casual sex, leading women to their demise because casual sex ruins women's ability to pair bond as wives and mothers. How is that in alignment with their oath of office? Dean of Public fucking Safety. So, these are our leaders in society, attracting broken women, having lots of partners, calling it like, this is the way I am. Yeah, you have unhealed childhood wounds. So yeah, that's the way you are. You have a sex addiction. That is the fucking way you are. But when you surround yourself in an echo chamber, like Fresh and Fit, then you're not forced to change. But I am here holding Justin Waller to account because I love the man. I care for the man. After I landed his heart, like we never even got on the phone call. I listened to him singing. He's incredible. I started crying because I was his emotional center at that point. I was his emotional center. And when we don't give women credit for that role and treat women like they're replaceable and they're, then what do we expect? Why would I value myself when the men I attract into my life show me that, I'm just like everybody else. I'm totally replaceable. My emotions aren't important. You're not going to spend time listening to me. You're not going to work through problems with me. I should just stay home, have kids, and be quiet. As fucking if. Okay, so this is the first of many videos where I'm going to talk about this, but this problem of what they call high value men incapable of a healthy emotional relationship. And then that's what's promoted as like what we should all strive for. Yeah, no, they're emotionally immature, they're traumatized, and that's why they can't settle into a relationship, because men who can't go for depth because of their emotional blocks in their heart go for breadth. Like I just showed you in that Hills and Valleys physics experiment. The most transformative energy, the way to expand your emotional range is learn to go into your emotions and come out of your emotions. Okay? So if you want Mount Everest-sized wisdom, you got to take on Mount Everest-sized wounds, but you have to process those wounds to extract the wisdom. Like you don't get a diamond without digging through the coal. Same concept. Okay, please like and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and there'll be more later today. All right, take care. Bye.